Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you. You on?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you hear me?
No, I still can't.
You still can hear me? Bobby Digital.
Oh, we back. We listen, man. I done cooked up some stuff.
Oh,
Well,
I can't wait to hear.
nah, literally, like I was cooking in the backyard. You know, I couldn't.
Listen,
I
man.
didn't even get the opportunity to put my camera on yet. But so let me make sure I get this computer on and get up here, see what's going on, man. What we looking like?
Look, man, ain't no rest for the weary. That's what's going on.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
But we're gonna keep it consistent for the people, man. Level up past corporate trauma is for the people.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact, bro. That's a fact.
Yo,
Hmm.
I got some good news.
You played a lotto?
No, sir.
See.
But I got some good news.
Okay.
I got some good news for the good people.
Okay. What we got?
The What Is Corporate Trauma book preview will
Oh.
be hitting a social media
Oh.
platform near you tomorrow. How they say?
What? Stop playing.
It's
See,
ready,
y'all. Let me tell y'all what this dude does. He doesn't tell me about stuff early. He doesn't.
Uh-huh.
He waits until I get here, and then he says something so he can get a fresh reaction.
Yeah, don't tell
So
the people. Don't tell the people all the business, man.
nah. Y'all be trying to figure out why we be doing a certain way, because this dude is like, I'm not gonna tell Rob not a thing, and then this dude gonna get up here and act the fool, and then I'm gonna follow up on what I'm gonna throw hot sauce on that piece of chicken. That is exactly what. But okay, all just aside, that is awesome. That is awesome. Just in case the people don't know, Jamoul is the originator, the founder, the person at some point in time that was hit by a light on a road near you.
Talk to him, Rob. Talk
What
to him.
corporate trauma is, right? And I want to make sure. So for those who don't follow what I mean, I'm gonna hit you with this one little biblical piece, and then I'm gonna leave it from here. Right? On the road to Damascus,
Uh-huh.
Saul, right? Saul. Well, let me do it like this. On the road to Damascus, Paul, formerly known as Saul, was blinded by a light, right? So the connection for Jamoul, as he was going through all these different things in his career, experiencing a lot of different hardships, in which some might call trauma in the workplace, the things that he was experiencing, he said, there's something here that people are not putting their finger on. There's a form of trauma that I'm experiencing that is similar to what we feel outside, but it's unique to the corporate industrial complex.
That's right.
And he coined it corporate trauma. And he broke it down into a number of different things that you will feel and you'll experience as you go through those things. And then as he felt those things, and you know me, I'm always laughing at folks. He called me like, yo, I think I got something. Like, all right, what we got? And he let me know. And I said, I'm in. Whatever this is, this sounds like something that works and that makes a lot of sense to me. And this is well before the podcast. This is well before a lot of things that you are seeing now. This was in those first couple of years when it was, yo, this is something that's going to be dope. So when we talk about corporate trauma, you know, Jamoul was hit with it as he was experiencing something that many folks go through. And he said, listen, this is corporate trauma. And the biggest piece that connected to me, and I was hearing from a lot of the interns and a lot of the people that we were coaching, the idea of not being able to come to work as yourself, being who you are, the idea of having to leave your heart at home in order to get paid, there is a cost for that. So when Jamoul called me and said, yo, the impact of that, we're going to call that corporate trauma. Right. And I said, boof. And I said, I'm in. I'll leave it there. I just want to give people the background of how I witnessed it. But when I tell you this brother right here, I'm gonna do this one last time, at least today. But when I tell you this brother right here is awesome, awesome on so many different levels, and he is a true student, but he is also an awesome teacher. And I hope y'all pay attention and catch like what he's throwing our way, because I've known him I think it's about 10, might be 11 years or so. And he has consistently helped me level myself up as I was going through things and experiencing things. And you know me, I'm gonna be ready to pop somebody upside their head. He like, Rob, there's a better way. There's a better way.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, I don't know how to follow that one up.
Good.
But, Lord have mercy. And you know, one of the things I realize as I hear you talking about, you know, the genesis of us working as a team to put it down on paper so that it can be scaled for other people to relate to. Because it's one thing to talk about it and people be like, you know what, I could feel that. But when you see it and it becomes something tangible, which you were and are, number one was like the number one catalyst in the, you know, from the beginning. Like, nah, man, you can't just talk about it. You gotta, you know, we gotta bring this, spread the word on this. And speaking of talking about it, you know, it really was born out of me trying to find a more efficient way to talk about what people was going through.
Yeah.
As we were coaching pre-professionals, trying to describe to them what they got to look forward to, right? and I was like, man, how can I put this together, you know, and in a way where I don't have to say a whole lot. You could just kind of, oh, I've already felt a little bit of that, but the phraseology of corporate and trauma put together, you know, actually gives a new spin to it. So so here we go, man.
Nice.
You know what? That's not the one I wanted to show you.
Oh no, not nice. Not nice.
Not nice. Yo, but it's you know, it's there it is. There you go.
What is corporate trauma? A new name for an old condition. Listen. Listen.
So tomorrow, I promise.
It is a training, Miss Page. It is a training.
Yes, great observation, Miss Page. It definitely is a training, and we've created the training preemptively before the book, but the book is going to be now text and reference material for the training that we continually do, that people are asking for. People are calling us. People are texting us. People are emailing us. People are referring us to bring this to a corporate office near you, right? And corporate trauma is not just for the workplace. You know, it's for anywhere where a group of people are legally identified as one entity. So that could be your church, that could be your AAU basketball team, that could be your car club. You know what I mean? It could be any group of people. So we are excited about what we're able to bring to the public. And corporate trauma is for the people. Ain't nothing that we talk about that is new.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, one of the big things is, right, we have experienced that it was a big step and an ambitious accomplishment for us both just to be bold enough to identify it and talk about it. Right? Because a lot of people think, feel, and go through think about things and go through things on a daily basis that we're conditioned in the workplace not to even address as something that needs to be changed. Uh, so, man, I can't wait for the feedback. And I'm going to give you a sneak preview as soon as we get off. Rob, I'm going to send it to you. The preview is a quick read, but it really gives us, it gives background to number one, my sensitivity for the subject matter and why I'm sensitive to it, why I am sensitive to the concept of corporate trauma, and then we start to build how we define it. So, and it's a dense subject. You know, we're on every week, right? We're on this podcast every week, and we're not running dry of things to talk about. So you can imagine, you know, the challenge of trying to put this on paper and in an intelligent way where people can grab a hold to it and it not be too complicated, because it's really dense. And I have to thank all the people that have that really have had confidence in me to bring such things to the forefront through coaching and training and professional development, right?
Mhm.
Question: This is your solution to imposter syndrome? Well, great question. But what you will learn from the book and from listening to us every week is that imposter syndrome is one of many things that are conflated as corporate trauma, but corporate trauma is the umbrella that imposter syndrome, burnout, PTSD, stress, all that stuff that we associate with negative experience in the workplace fits under the corporate trauma umbrella. Um, but yeah, man, I'm excited. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Okay. All right. So what we jumping into? What we jumping into? Since you didn't drop something. Now let's get to people what I know they used to. You know what I mean? Because I know you got something
I got
in
something
this
for you,
bag.
man. I
Okay.
got something for you. This is specifically for you.
Oh, that's not good though.
this
That's not good because that means you doing
is
something that you. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. It's on your
now.
head.
I'm gonna tell you, Rob. You're gonna have to approach this
Nope.
from two different ways. I give you, not like I need to, because you're gonna take it. I give you permission to tell the people what you would do. But I need you to tell the people that what you would do is not what they should do.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I'll be right. I feel like I'll be right. So I don't know if people should not follow suit on what I do, because what I do, it makes a lot of sense. And I think everybody should do it.
See, I don't know. You about to get somebody fired, man.
Well, listen, that just means you shouldn't be there. But go ahead. All right, let's get to it. Listen.
I knew I could get him started, good people. Hey, yo, I did that on purpose. I did that on purpose to get him started. Hey,
okay,
you good?
Listen, I'm waiting for you.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
So tonight's subject matter: the corporate bully.
Why you laughing so much? Okay, what we got? Go ahead.
Set it up. All right, man.
Let's get it. You know how
the corporate bully, man. You ever hear the saying, power corrupts? And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I have.
I've experienced, and I'm gonna speak for me, that the corporate industrial complex, be it a for-profit organization, be it a police precinct, be it a classroom at a college or university, right, gives ordinary people a platform and authority, right? That otherwise just walking around in their own social environment that they came up in, they would not necessarily have organically, right? But you go to school, you get a degree, you possibly get a job, you do well, you move up, right? And the corporate industrial complex has a habit of over promoting people into management over people, right? As an incentive, as a way to promote outliers in performance and reward them. So now you take an outlier and you reward them by making them the leader or the manager or the supervisor, but they may not necessarily be suited to lead, supervise, or manage.
Correct.
Right. And then what you have is people who are more suited for leadership, but may not necessarily be the outlier, like 150% the goal or whatever the case may be, gets overlooked. And so now you have layers. And like I said, this is a for-profit organization. This could be a classroom. This could be at a police precinct, man. This could be, at your local YMCA, in the swimming pool area, whatever. Like you got people that are afforded leadership and authority that otherwise would not have it organically because they're not suited for it. Everybody's not suited for everything. And when the power gets given to them or levied on them, that power corrupts them in a certain way. Let me give you a recent real example, right? And everything here, corporate trauma community is totally anonymous. We're not going to use people, places, and names without anybody's permission, but we try to use real stories and scenarios that both Robin and I have been made privy to because of the work that we do that makes this podcast and this conversation so relevant, right? We want to empower people to be themselves and embrace their own value, right? This is real story. I witnessed I don't have a problem. But I don't want to.
You're going to be the one to get into it today. You think you're trying to get me, but you're going to be the one that gets into it. I can just tell because, see, I'm used to doing this.
Yes.
I'm used to playing this.
I know.
This is normal. This is who I am every day. It's hard for me not to do this part. But for you,
see, Mr. Diplomacy, right?
Yeah, because once I've decided that it doesn't matter if I'm no longer the president or not, all hell breaking loose.
Right.
So, under normal circumstances, I could sit in the corner and just go just like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
once I've decided, go ahead, let's hear it.
I'm in the company of a leader invited to a meeting to discuss a particular piece of the aspect of the work, right? And this is a recurring meeting, and a lot of production and a lot of ground has been covered. But on a particular day, once upon a time, right? On this particular day, what we were engaging in was just about to be complete. And there was a meeting before the meeting that involved this leader. And it was semi-related to what we were already meeting on for several weeks. So the leader said, time out. I'm way ahead of you, right? Politely. Like, I got a team on it. We're just about done. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to meet with them in a few minutes so we can park this conversation because I believe I have documented what we're getting ready to talk about, I can save you some time. Cool. Well, the person opposite this leader in that meeting decided to tell another leader in the organization that, hey, so and so does not want to meet. You know, they're already down the block on this particular subject. So the other leader finds access to this next meeting where I'm attending with the original leader, right? With leader number one. Leader number two gets access to that meeting and comes in to a meeting cold turkey, uninvited, uninformed, and says, we're going to cancel this meeting right now. Now they're peers. Calm down, Rob. It's okay. It's okay. So in other words, Rob, imagine Rob said, hey, I'm pulling the team together to take care of this, and we don't need to talk about this anymore. And then I get wind of it, and I invite myself to Rob's meeting and say, yo, no, we're not going to do this. You're not going to talk about this right now. This is my lane, even though we're peers, even though we're equals. But one's a bully.
That's what we classify this person as. They're the bully.
In this scenario, right? Because what if that was me, what right do I have to commandeer your meeting, especially when it pertains to your job and my job indirectly, but I decide for whatever reason that you don't hold as much weight to make a decision that I can't override in this moment because I'm in my feelings. So I decide to bully you in front of your direct reports, in front of your subordinates, and say, we're not going to talk about this today. Mm-hmm. To your face.
What else you want me to do with that sucker?
Real story, Rob.
So, okay, is it my turn yet?
Yes.
Is it my turn?
I think I yeasted it up enough for you.
My goodness. But here's a couple of things.
All right.
One, it's about relationships.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And two, it's also about the boundaries that were set. If you have the proper boundaries, pretty good relationship, and this person respects you, they'll never do something to make you look bad in front of other people. It's sort of like there's certain things you won't do in front of other people about your mom or your dad, right? Or somebody who you really care about. But if you're willing to show your ass in front of other people, that means there's a level of respect that is not there, or that level of respect is very, very low. And this is why when I tell people, when this very, very nice and lovable guy turns into a dragon, they be like, but yo, he was so nice. He always got jokes and he's so respectable and he's everything else. But I put things in the bucket that I feel like they deserve to be in. When that person comes to that meeting, they probably feel like they've been disrespected, right? And in their mind, I'm going to light you on fire for playing me. Now, the biggest issue is if we rock with each other like that, you will come to me and you will say, hey, Rob, I heard about the plan you got going on, and I'm sorry that I didn't get involved in this early enough. But to be honest with you, this falls under me, and that's not how I planned on getting it done. We can work together to figure out how we can make this happen. But that way, purely how you put it together, it's not going to work for either my timeline, the results that I'm looking for, or to be honest with you, my game plan for my team. But let's figure out how we can work together to make it work for my team and make it work for yours. Because hopefully we want the same results. And then we pause. But if you jump your ass in that meeting and you flex on me, the thing that I'm going to feel, the first thing I'm going to say, oh, he flexing or she flexing. Why are they flexing? So I'm like, I know if I'm going into a meeting and someone says, hey, Rob, like this might get a little hot. I need you to like pay attention to what's happening. One, I'm gonna ask the person, hey, okay, I want you to clarify what does pay attention mean, right? Because maybe I'm not on the level of the people who might throw the blows. But I need you to help me understand, because if you're throwing blows at the people who I rock with, I'm liable to jump in. Because in my mind, you disrespecting them. That also means you're disrespecting
Me.
us. And you
Right.
disrespecting the team with the idea that you know more. So for this conversation that we're having right now, for whatever reason that these people were in this meeting without this first person, they must be privy to some type of information that makes it warranted for them to have this meeting. Why your raggedy ass was it in the meeting? And I think I didn't curse. Why you were not in the meeting, it's your fault. And if you come in here and you start flexing, then it's time to throw muscles around. And that's why I always tell people, anytime it's gonna be smoke, if I feel like it's gonna be smoke, oh Rob, something just didn't rub me. Well, let's meet in person. You know why we gonna meet in person? Because I dare you. I don't ask. I tell people all the time. They be like, I'm not one of those people who I wish a MF would. I wish he would. No, I ain't that person.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know when we meet in person, I know when we actually have a meeting and we're sitting across the table from each other, you're not going to be disrespectful to me. Because the amount of flames that's going to be coming off my body,
just the vibe, right?
That vibe. And I think sometimes, like, folks got to set people straight, and you got to set them straight often. And whoever that person who's the bully, that means that person assumed and had the idea, one, that their ego was bigger than you, right? Their level of authority is bigger than yours. And
their idea
is more important
than yours.
Right? Than yours.
So
now we're not talking about winning. We're talking about personalities. And that also is the thing that pisses me off. I'm not one of those people who I'm like, hey, it has to be my way. I just want to make sure that whatever we say is a win for us, that we don't lose track of that. Whatever the win is, if we say this is the win, hey, this is what a win looks like for us. And then I'm gonna say, but does it matter how we get there?
Us
right? And then that's true. That's true. Us is the key word.
The key word, right? Because, so I like what you said. I mean, jokes aside, right? When it gets hot, pick up the phone, right? A one-on-one, a coffee meeting, right? Something in person, something personal, because what's going on at work is work. But now when you start to encroach, or when we start to encroach on each other's personal ideals and making people feel smaller than they actually should feel, by belittling them with certain antics and behavior, which is really couched behind who reports to who's got more direct reports, who's got the higher title. Like, these things get in the way of interpersonal relationships, right? That can actually work towards solving a situation before it gets personal. But the idea, Rob, the idea that I can pull this off, you know what? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I bully people in the workplace.
I know you bully me.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you bully me
and unintentionally. Because I
no, I'm lying. You ain't bullying me. I don't know. I'm just joking. I want to let people know. No, I'm no longer.
I've been in leadership. I've been in leadership situations where I've leaned on that bully pulpit to get certain things done, and it might have rubbed somebody the wrong way, and made them feel like I was intentionally belittling them, and in some cases, you know, the power gets the best of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I mean, and these aren't things that you can't walk back and go and apologize and beg your pardon and do what you did in offense in public. You know, walk it back by apologizing in the same public that you did it in, right? And it takes a level of understanding and empathy, and um, for people's emotions and ego to subside in order to see it clearly. But the thought behind, but now what I'm not talking about the occasional isolated incidents that's outside your character. I'm talking about this is your persona.
Mm-hmm.
This is your this is standard operating procedure for you. This is what you do. I'm going to poke until I find a weakness or see how you're put together, and anything that I can utilize from a power dynamic standpoint, I'm going to use in order to really identify a relationship on a dominant recessive, or you know what I mean, like that type of what's the word I'm looking for, that type of dynamic. You know what I mean, I'm more important than you. My job is bigger than you, therefore I must crush you with my title. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people that operate like that. The corporate bully. The corporate bully.
You know, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we had it was like a mentor type of conversation earlier today, or at least I put myself in a position at least to give this information. The person's about to jump into a leadership position, about to supervise people for the first time, and the first thing I'm saying, hey, there's some people who you know there, but you also know that there's some baggage of how the previous supervisor moved and interacted. The biggest issue that we have, and a lot of times people think to be a great supervisor, you need to have had the experience. And if that was the case, then guess what that would mean? That means that we wouldn't have horrible supervisors, because a lot of times horrible supervisors are those who've been supervisors for forever, right?
That's a fact.
The biggest issue that we have is people don't level set with others about their expectations, about what's okay, what's not okay, what's acceptable and not acceptable, and then consistently working together to figure out how to make the relationship work. Your work relationship with the people, whether you're in a management position or subordinate position, whatever the case may be, it is no different than the relationship you have at home with your significant other. It's something that has to be worked. And we show up to these places and we just expect, because they pay this person these dollars, that they got it. And the one thing that I've also realized, a superstar at the job, and you touched on this earlier, a superstar at the job can be a horrible leader. And we talked about this in another episode, where as awesome as Michael Jordan was on the court, it's probably hard for him to be a coach, and it's hard for him to be a general manager, and it's hard for him to be an owner, because in Mike's mind, all he needs to do was work hard. All he needs to do was show up and work hard. And if you're the manager, if you're the leader, the idea that there's no nuance there, that there's no sometimes God-given ability, or there's no opportunity to train someone better. You sometimes it's like, hey, is it something there that that person brings to the table? Is there something there that we can mine out of them to make them better, to make them greater, so we can put them in this leadership position? But you can have somebody who dropped 50 and then they can never be a coach, right? They can never be an awesome coach because they don't know how to get it out of people. So those are the things, those intangibles, and maybe that's something we got to touch on as we're having these conversations and interacting with different people. how am I getting the most out of my team without crushing who they are, without crushing them as a person, without crushing them as an employee? I know you have some tips and some ideas. Like, how are people going to get that out of people? How do people build those relationships? How do they connect the dots? You know what I mean? Sounds like ego and privilege. It's a lot of it. People.
Right. You know, right. That's a great question. Do you believe
but
that people who
but
act like this at work often have no control at home?
I
You
think
know,
it's two extremes. I think it's two extremes on that. I think it's you're gonna have people who have no control, who are happy that they have it, and then there are other people who they have control everywhere they go.
hmm, right.
Everywhere they go, and this is no different. They
They don't feel comfortable. I know what you're saying. They don't feel
You see what I'm
comfortable
saying?
being a part of something if they
Correct.
don't have total control over it, right?
Correct.
And you know, Michael Jordan is a great example from The Last Dance. I hope everybody watched it. Very important
Mhm.
piece of popular culture, not just a sporting genre, even though those of us that love sports, love basketball, love Michael Jordan, right? We enjoyed it. But if you look at it closer from a corporate trauma perspective, everybody, what does everybody in that whole scenario have in common? Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and all the teammates and the coach. At the end of the series, what do they all have in common? Regardless of who was what personality, what do they all have in common after the 6 championships?
You gonna tell us?
Yes.
Because I know you ain't waiting for me.
Yo.
Hmm.
And it took me a minute. It didn't take long, but it took a minute. They all quit. I don't care what the level of success was. I don't care what the implications was on their legacy. I don't care how much money they made. I don't care. Man, the daggone Chicago Bulls made a color scheme, red, white, and black.
Hmm.
Hot.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, that was hot.
clothing designers and apparel makers was making items and had to have a version of whatever item that was in red, black, and white. That's how big Chicago Bulls were. Everybody quit. Everybody
Mm.
except the owner, who's the ultimate beneficiary, right?
Hmm.
And the one person who was in control, which was the general manager, Jerry Krause. Michael Jordan quit. Scottie Pippen been quit.
Hmm.
Like, they was begging him to stay on the team. Dennis Rodman quit in the middle of the season, had to take a break. You know what I'm saying?
What does that
But
mean?
but what that means is, you said it in the beginning. There's a cost. There's a cost to all of that, right? And if you lay, and the success is still saying still 6 championships, right? But
That's
if
a
you
great.
lay it over as a transparency, another athlete like a Tom Brady or LeBron James, who have arguably in the same range number of
Hmm. Hmm.
championships and success, right?
Hmm.
LeBron is a totally different type of leadership. Like, he's got tendencies, like but that's not his default. Michael Jordan was a bully, and he said, "You know what? I don't, I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, you know what I'm saying, and everybody doesn't want to play like that, but I want to win, and I want you to win. So if you don't want to play like that, you ain't got to play like that. But that's how I play." That's what he said, and then he
You know
broke
what?
down into tears. You know what I'm saying? But they
That's a great point.
all quit.
You know what
That's
the
the
craziest?
lesson in it for me, Rob. Hold you. I want you to hold your
Yep.
thought, but that was the
Hmm.
lesson in it for me, was that when it was all said and done, it was all said and done, and they
You
didn't
know
have
who?
to quit. And that's the one thing that they say, that if we had stayed in it, right? If we had stayed in it, we would have
Mm.
won more. So that's, your mind is already trying to reconcile. If I had did this differently, if I had did that differently,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
So that was the price for leaning into something that was detrimental. And the most interesting thing is we celebrate more of that than we do anybody that wins another way. Right? When you we all quit. Right? So if you think about it, we celebrate Steve Jobs. The marketplace in business celebrates Steve Jobs, and it is documented that dude was a horrible guy. Up and down was horrible. Right? Even how he treated the other folks who helped him start Apple in the beginning. But when people say it was all about winning, then cool. But here's the issue that we always have to remember. There are horrible people on each one of those levels who don't win. There are thousands and millions and tens of millions of individuals in smaller situations that act like them who on a day-to-day lose because they assume that the only way to do it is to be willing to drag someone through the mud to win. There's somebody right now who's getting paid $9.75 who operates like Mike. There's a person who's getting paid $18.95 that just sold you a chicken sandwich that moves like Steve Jobs.
Right.
Now, people will tell you that because of the level of money that someone was making, that's just what comes along with the territory. And that's a lie. Because it's a part of what some people do because that's what's comfortable to them.
Right. They don't know no other way.
Right? So the idea of what was necessary to win was based on Mike.
Right. And taking nothing away from him.
Taking nothing away
he's
from
the winner. That's a fact.
That is true.
But one thing, but to your point, one thing Mike ain't doing right now is coaching.
Yeah.
He's not going back into that place where right, he got to become something that everybody else around him is not comfortable with.
He can't become something that he's not. At the end of the day, he needs to be the person where it's like, listen, you ain't living up to par. You got to go.
Right.
You got to go. And maybe in at some point in time, probably in his life, and for many folks, they've realized like, hey, I need to be able to operate or be in a certain position in order to operate at my optimum level. Like for me, I may be more benevolent, but I also feel like, man, with the ideas that I have and the way that I'm able to connect the dots, if I could just be the person who was at the top and not have to do all the different pieces, we'd be good to go.
Right. But you asked me what my advice would be. Number one, we all have to be less emotional. Right? Your emotions is supposed to guide you. They're not supposed to control you. You feel a certain type of way, then you have to rise above those emotions, right? Not ignore them, not suppress them, embrace them so that you can rise above them, so that you can understand deeper. Okay, what's going on here? And you can't come to a higher level of understanding, right, if you stay stuck in these emotions. So Mike can be whoever he is.
Yep.
Right? But there's an obligation on the other side of the equation not to be so daggone emotional. Right? And then there is a concept that Rob we've talked about before, that we have to practice more because it creates an imbalance. There has been an imbalance created because we don't do this enough, which is build on people's strengths, build on their best part. If you know, right, if you know that I'm not the best administratively sincere person, then why would you make me the administrator on anything
that takes
and create the expectation that I'm supposed to be this administrative savant? like the next person, right? No,
Yeah,
no, no. I'm gonna challenge you.
that's a
You
great
need to
point.
get in there because if you close this gap, you're gonna be that much better of a professional because we need to build on what you do better, which is the extemporaneous things, which is the
That's a
speak,
great point.
right? Like so, we have to build on the best because, and if we don't make the soft spots or the
Mhm.
gaps stronger or the
Yeah.
soft spots harder by complementing that with
Mm.
the things that we do best, then we're just picking on people's,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, shortcomings. And that nobody likes to feel like that. And then people, like I said, stay stuck in their emotions because you don't like the way that feels. That's uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Um,
That's a
right.
great thing.
And then I kind of alluded to it in this. And the third thing I would advise is balance. If you got somebody
Hmm.
like Michael Jordan on your team, leading your
Yeah.
team, well, who you balancing them with? You got to have a Phil Jackson, the Zen master. That's why it
Hmm.
worked. That's what nobody's talking about. Mike was the bully, right? And Phil smoothed it out.
But there was a couple of pieces to that though. And I want to touch two things that you just said that I feel like were awesome. You can have the leader, but and this is why we're going through what we're going through with Scotty right now.
Yep.
But you also have to have the person who is willing to sacrifice in real time.
Right.
And regardless if Scotty could have been a Jordan or not, Scotty had to do certain things and be a certain way that as he looks back, he's like, man, I gave up a lot and people don't give me credit for that. I could have been so much more. And so he's struggling with that, even though that's what's necessary. That was what was necessary for them to win. So he put winning over his ego. And now you see when there's no more chances for him to win, his ego is on full blast.
Because he wasn't valued. Because that what you're talking about, to
Mm-hmm.
your point, you said
Yeah.
it earlier, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, it's such a novel idea and it's such an ingenious way
Yeah.
to be a part of an
Mm-hmm.
equation is to be willing to sacrifice. But are
Yeah.
but is that going to be valued?
Draymond still got paid. And for those people who don't watch basketball, look up Draymond Green on the Warriors, on the Golden State Warriors. Go for his level. Even though he may not score like Klay Thompson, he may not score like Steph Curry, but he got paid $100+ million because they understood the value of what he brought to the table for what he does,
And what that
and when you
means to the
and
rest
what
of the
that
players.
means to the team. So when we're talking about building it, and here's that piece that you talked about, the savant, and then hiring this other person, you will have administrators and people and even managers be in positions for the things that they do well. And maybe that's the thing that they'll have to do most often. But there's a part that they are ridiculously horrible at, that even if it's 20 or 30% of the job, that can be the reason that the empire fails. Because you put somebody in a position because they can shoot, and I'm gonna stick with the basketball analogy. You put them in position because they can shoot, and when they're going against teams that don't have awesome shooters, then great. But when they go up against a team where that person also has to play defense, if you have not built your team to cover that other person's ass, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
If you sit over here and you have a person in HR who's great at the contracts and putting policies in place, but they have no level of empathy, no level of care for people's personal situations and what happens to them at work, then now you're setting yourself up for problems that are larger than a person dropping the ball on a contract. So when we process all of these different things, man, when I tell you, you hit that on the mark,
Yeah.
you can have a supervisor in a job right? You can have a supervisor in a job. This supervisor knows how to do the job in and out, but this person is a horrible manager of people and their time.
Right.
So in that person's mind, as long as they crack the whip, the work shall get done. We's no slaves, master. Right? And I tell people all the time, nobody, you don't own me, sucker. I show up as I am. I will fail. I will drop the ball. I will do a lot of different things, but I'm not accepting disrespect.
Right.
Either you're gonna get it in front of everybody, or I'm gonna give it to you later. But best believe you come at my head, you gonna feel every time you feel me, you around me, my vibe is gonna be like, I dare you. I dare you. I don't know who you think I am.
Right.
But you don't own me. And I say that, and I'm joking with the phrase, but I really want people to process, especially when we talk about being black, brown, and indigenous, wherever you are. The idea to make other people feel comfortable so that you can keep a job in a place that you're not comfortable is ludicrous. Rob, I gotta feed the kids, but you're gonna die early. You're gonna die. You're gonna die early. And we always trying to figure out, well, man, how did he die? Because he was going to work for 2 hours, 1 hour one way, another hour another way, and then he or she was dealing with nonsense at work day in and day out. I always tell Colette, I always say to Colette, and I'll stop it here. I say, man, you could say some stuff to me, but I said, listen, I married you. You've been given the okay, but I'm telling you, not another person. I'm not taking none of this nonsense.
Yeah, Colette, get him.
Yo, I'm not taking none of this. Man, I just can't imagine, and I just want us all to get to that place. And some people are like, oh, well, Rob, it's because you work here and you do this. No. My first day at Wells Fargo, I got up in that. I said, man, do you really believe that stuff you said to people? Is that really how you feel after you talk to somebody who looks like my grandmother? Like, I'm big on that piece, and I'm always trying to figure out, like, man. And I tell people, and I always say this, I'm not always the sharpest tool in the toolbox. I'm not always the person that's going to get certain things done, but I see certain things that other people don't see, and that's what I lean on. Whatever I do well, I lean on it, and then I try to figure out how do I improve, but also by not being an asshole, by not being, but not being somebody that is just so quick to belittle other people.
Yeah,
and I struggle with being around people like that, because I'm like, man, I know, like, I'm really smart, and I'm like, I know all this stuff, and then the idea that a sucker that don't know more than me want to make other people that I feel as if is cool feel small. We gotta fight. Don't wait. Do not go to work and go fight nobody because you was listening to the Level Up.
I told y'all, Rob, don't do what Rob would do. Do what Rob is advising you to do. And what he's advising you to do, you run up on a corporate bully. It's only a couple things that's gonna happen.
You Mike Tyson him. You bite him. If he not listening to you, bite his ear.
Yo, you yourself, Rob. Don't bite nobody. Don't bite nobody at work. So the corporate bully either needs to be balanced. The corporate bully has to be balanced, or the corporate bully will get jumped, or everybody else is going to quit. That's the name of the game. Why? Because the time is up for that type of behavior in the workplace. I mean, I say this all the time. I feel like I say it every other episode, Rob. This generation that's in early to mid-career leadership that's going to inherit the C-suite in a few days, they will leave without a 2-week notice. I don't care how much they're getting paid. I don't care what they're doing for work. If they don't like it, they don't like you, they don't like the way it feels, they're out. I'm not saying this is absolutely, I'm not making a sweeping statement. Please don't hold it
I
against
am.
me.
We about that peace.
don't
We
don't
about
hold it
that
against
peace.
me. But
Gone.
more times than not, they're gone. So we have to readjust, and that's why I'm glad we addressed this personality in the workplace, the corporate bully. Because really, at the end of the day, man, you know, even when you watch a movie with a bully in it, at a certain point, the person that's getting bullied ain't scared of you no more, right? And the corporate industrial complex, slowly but surely, is not rewarding bullies for their expertise.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
You're not being rewarded for your expertise in bullying.
And here's something I want people to also think about. It's a diversity and inclusion and equity issue as well. Because when you're talking about whatever race or ethnicity the men are, and they're in power and they play that role, that's a DE and I issue.
Right.
If you're talking about it's a group of people who have all the money, who hold most of the seats in Congress, who have been most of the presidents of the United States in the Western world, that's a DE&I issue.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be able to take it serious, and you can't just assume that because that person gets results, it's worth it. And like I've been in a situation where someone on my team for the company I was leading, for many other people, he was a bully. But in my mind, I'm like, yo, but he's a rider. But what I wasn't thinking about, the bully is also a corrosion mechanism.
Yes.
It may be slow, it may be fast, but that person's actions and tactics in the name of getting results at some point in time makes the bridge crumble.
That's right. The bow
And no
will break.
matter right, and no matter what side of the bridge you're on, you better have a boat because you will not be walking back across. And then next thing you know, those are also the people who leave because they realize the bridge is falling. Right? Like the bully will be the person that, oh yeah, it's not good here. That place just fell apart. You know.
Or they'll stay and blame it on everybody else.
Yeah.
You quit.
A
Yeah,
forced
let her
result,
quit.
a win. You know what's crazy, Tiva? When you're looking at results from a standpoint of corporate earnings, yes, right? And I'm not saying yes from me. I'm talking about then people are okay with it because as long as it produces results quarter by quarter, then yes. But when we talk about longevity, then you have issues. Why do you think so many things are going wrong with some of these banks that every time you turn around, there's one bank keeps popping up in the media, right? Because there's something there.
Right.
There's an underlying current of something. The same way, regardless of what the vice president has said, regardless of what the president has said, there's an undercurrent here in America with the idea, right? So when we think about it, America, quarter by quarter, when we talk about all of the results that America has, it produces awesome results. But at what cost?
At what cost?
Right? Who's being sacrificed? 60 years ago, you know what they said, hey, if there was a study, and I'm not gonna give you nothing to go and look up because I have no idea where it is. But there was a study, and maybe I'm making it up, and I'm not, but I did hear this. There was a study that said America's, I believe, number one in education at the time. I think it was the 50s, 50s or 60s. But it said they're neglecting certain parts of their country. And because they're neglecting it, it's going to corrode the system in which everything is built on. A lot of these things can be avoided. When folks were, it wasn't that that segregation was the issue. It was the idea that the education system in the communities were not being equally supported financially. Right. So when we look at all these different pieces and we look at results, could you imagine where America would be if Black, brown, and indigenous people were operating community by community at the capacity that white counterparts are in the cities? I'm not just talking about the cities. I'm not talking about in the backwoods or in the country. I'm just talking about just the cities. Could you imagine if John Johns and Rays and Robs were on top of their game going into third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and getting out of high school? We might be to Mars already, because I'm always gonna share. And Tipa said, and we would have found cancer by now.
Oh,
and here's the right and more. I
know that because somebody would have said, "Yo, we need to serve the people, right, and share this cure, rather than treat the people and sell this medicine." That's a fact.
And so I'm saying that when we talk about, does the force results equal win? Yeah, if you're the people who reap the benefits of the sacrifice of other people.
Right.
But for the rest of us, no. And I'll connect this one more dot. Folks cannot figure out how in the world 6,000 or 7,000 years ago folks put them pyramids together in Egypt. They cannot. They like, it is impossible that 7,000 years ago, 5,000 BC, these group of people was able to get these tens of 1,000-pound stones, drag them, move them up, put them in a pyramid, and actually have them geometrically sound. They cannot figure it out till this day, even though many of the people who you will be following are saying that they're the descendants of these people. You know why they can't figure it out? Because the people who put them there are sleeping. That's us.
That's us.
Right? So when you process all of those different pieces, and we talk about the bullies are there for themselves.
Right.
When you're talking about building a team, they're there for the collective. They're there for the betterment of the people that they serve.
Right.
And that's the piece that we miss, bro. Everybody claim they're there for the people they serve, but at the end of the night, they are yelling and screaming about their own results.
That's right. Exactly. Tipa said,
don't put that up there.
Hey, listen.
Down with them all. I'm down with Robin Hood and them.
But you know what, right? 60 years ago, people was willing to make the sacrifice to put up with the corporate bully, whether it was an individual personality, whether it was a departmental culture, or the whole personality of an industry, right? People were willing to do it because they were looking further into the future. I got to make this sacrifice in this chaotic state because we're building something, and the building of things brings out the best and the worst in people. All these people did was create children that are looking back at their parents and grandparents and like, yo, this is all you got to show for? All that you put up with the corporate bully? I'm not doing it, right? And so that's where we're at right now. Man, great conversation. I knew this was gonna get you going. Yeah. I knew this was a hot take.
Yeah,
I knew this was a hot take. Rob is the anti-bully.
I'm the anti. Man, listen, because I've been in the meetings and people try to bully me, and they've been saved by other people.
Whoa,
I'm about to pop off.
Well, what Don used to say, wait.
Whoa, 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 rah. Oh, Felder. Hold on. Why didn't you say hold on to this sucker over here that called me a dog? Whoa. Yeah, see, look.
Yeah,
This is just
yeah. Well, our solution to the imposter syndrome is a simple phrase that we like to use around here is, man, you can't be an imposter if you accept your own and be yourself, right? I know, because I was forced to embrace the fact that I'm a facilitator, right? I connect the source to the pieces that need to be connected to the source. So I need to be empathetic for those that are disconnected, and I need to be strong enough to connect myself to the source in the meantime. I know that, right? You know what I mean? You wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning, I know that I'm born to help people in whatever capacity. And the way that I help people and do things is through facilitation, right? So there's nowhere that I can go and feel like I'm not supposed to be there if I embrace who I am and approach that situation with, hey, I can help this situation with what I do. So you can't make me feel like I don't belong there. You can make me want to raise the bar and raise my game, right? Yo, I got to step it up because I like the idea of excellence and people are pushing me to be better, right? But that corporate trauma, making decisions based off of a trajectory of fear, stress, anxiety, anger, frustration, depression, and cognitive dissonance is that thing that makes you feel like you don't belong. So, man, just being on this podcast, talking trash about the corporate bully is a solution to the imposter syndrome. Because now I'm not suited for certain jobs because I don't put myself out there. Like, no, he's not. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work for Jamoul, right? But that only opens up the opportunities, right, that are perfect for me. So, Steve, thank you for your question. We be trying to, a lot of times we be trying to put ourselves as square pegs in round holes, and at this, you end up jammed up.
There you go, bro.
You end up jammed up. All right, good people, good conversation, man. Good engagement tonight. Throw us a comment in the chat. Throw us a thumbs up or a heart in the engagement if something we said tonight resonates with you and that you have been made better, even if you didn't need this conversation, but you know somebody who you can share this information with. Make sure you share the links. All 27, 26 episodes are up and can be viewed at your leisure. And be on the lookout for the What is Corporate Trauma book preview. It is not the whole book. It is not, repeat, it is not the whole book. It's just a little taste of what is to come, right? And we look forward to hearing your feedback because we are here every week, every Thursday night. Rob, any last words?
Be great. Believe that you are awesome. And don't let no low down dirty sucker tell you anything different. Don't let them do it to you.
That's right. Gratefully Golden says, great job. Great job rhymes with Rob.
Boom.
So remember, y'all, corporate trauma is a sneaky passive trauma that'll creep up on you. And when it does,
it is time to level up.
So we'll see y'all again next week. Be blessed, be safe.
Yes.
Say what up to Rob's children in the background. I'm sure mine will be running up in here any minute.
Yeah, they about to come and smack you in the back of the head. All right, y'all. Later.
I know that was RJ. That's the only person that I know. You know what I'm saying? RJ bullies Rob.
Yeah, next time y'all see RJ, I didn't beat him up.
All right, y'all.
Appreciate
Good
you,
night.
man. Appreciate you, man. Y'all enjoy your night.
Later.
Later.